What is going on, Ape Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another video. So this is part 3 of the Marc Cohodes interview series. And I think you're really going to enjoy this one because he keeps it real. You guys will enjoy this for sure. Go ahead and smash that like button before we get started so that the YouTube algorithm shares this with as many apes as possible. And for the love of God, if you are new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Tap that bell so you're notified every time I drop a video like this, because I drop content like this every single day. And now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video.
Could you kind of explain the mechanics a little bit of putting on a short position and how, if it goes against you, you can just get your face ripped off?
Well, there's two kinds of short squeeze. In order to short a stock, you have to borrow the shares. So you're always on margin, because when you borrow the shares, that requires the use of leverage. So if you own stock in GME, in order for me to short it, I have to borrow it from somebody. So I'm borrowing the stock, which is a margin situation. Now, depending on who your broker is, you can borrow 3 times the value, 2 times, 1 time, whatever. And we've had a brief discussion on margin. 1, you can get squeezed if you lose your borrow. If all of a sudden the borrow goes away and someone pulls my borrow, it's illegal to be short a stock without a borrow. So the prime broker will, in quotes, buy me in. So that's one form of squeeze. The other form of squeeze is when a stock goes up, you lose money on the denominator, your account, let's say $1 million. Let's say you're short GameStop at 20 and it goes to 40. You lose half your money. The numerator goes up because instead of being short 1 million shares at 20, you're short 1 million shares at 40. So you're down $20 million. So your numerator rises to 40 and your denominator goes down by 20. So you have much more exposure, if you will. Your broker or prime broker then calls you and asks you to put up more collateral. And as you put up more collateral, you have a choice of putting up more collateral to cover your losses, or you cover. If you cover, you create a situation where your short gets squeezed because instead of putting up more collateral, you decide to close the position. So what happened last week wasn't people losing borrow. You could borrow all the GameStop you wanted. What happened was people didn't have the collateral to put up. So everyone closed their position. I'm not going to say at once, but in close proximity to each other. And they closed AMC, and they closed iRobot, and they closed costs, and they closed everything else. So you had an absolute bloodbath as anyone who's short these type of names. Now, the people who do the real work, the first crowd, the Carruthers, myself, and other crowd, no one is short these kind of names. No one's stupid enough to be short GME at a very low level with a huge short interest, or AMC. The bloggers, who knows? I don't know what those clowns are involved in, but the over-leveraged hedge funds are the people who created the problems. And to keep them from creating problems going forward, they shouldn't be bailed out. They should just be put out of business. And they should learn their lesson. And when they learn their lesson, maybe they're allowed to come back and play. So the worst thing in my mind that happened to the market was SEC and Citadel bailed out Melvin. They should have let him go out of business. And they should let all those guys go out of business. And that way everyone will learn the lesson that you're not too big to fail. But I'm not king and I'm not God. I just have strong opinions.
Like you said, on both sides, if you lose on that trade, you're a big boy, take your losses and move on instead of getting bailed out, whether you're retail or you're institutional. It shouldn't matter. We all play this game, and you got to take your lumps with your wins, and that's just part of the game. But part of what happened last week too is also what they call a gamma squeeze. And I'll just briefly, if people are buying out of the money calls, the dealer has to hedge that position. So they'll buy some of the stock to hedge their risk because they're short that call. And if it's at a 10 delta, it means they have to buy 10% of that stock to hedge that risk, which also could then drive up that stock, especially if it's getting short squeezed. And so now it's up to a 20 delta. They have to buy twice as much stock. If it goes up to 40 delta, they have to buy more. And that buying pressure also lifts the stock. And that's what creates a gamma squeeze. And so you had all of these, mechanics involved with this GameStop trade that all came to roost at one time. But it's like you pointed out, it's a very kind of one-off trade. Like these things rarely happen. It was, small cap, small float. just the mechanics of this kind of worked out. But is it fair to say from your perspective in just looking at an overarching terms that shorts like you are looking to short frauds, while other people are looking to short fundamentals or just trying to play a quick game? It's more like a long versus short-term game. Is that a way to look at it?
That's one way to look at it. I mean, the genesis of the GameStop deal is I think the stock went from 50 to 3 or 4. I mean, the shorts should have just covered it. I mean, I use this line that someone once told me when a stock went from 2 to 3, I said, why is it up? Why is it up to 3? And this guy told me people would pay $3 just to see 2 rats fuck. And these guys made so much money on the GME trade, the arrogance of Plotkin and Melvin and SAC. They should have just covered the thing and moved on. Instead, they let the thing stay. They let the thing hang around. It started going up. I don't know if they shorted more, this, that, and the other. They should have just covered it when it was 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, and been done with it. The thing was bombed into the ground and the market's high and the market's speculative. So they sort of, dug their own grave with that. But the thing on the gamma squeeze that you brought up, I had a very, very, very smart guy, a pal of mine who used to be in the business. His name is Doug Rudish. He used to manage money for Bain. He says, he thinks, and I think a case can be made that when you do this gamma squeeze or try to do something like that, and you do it with others, it's collusion. And collusion in terms of manipulating a stock is highly illegal. So I think the government needs to look into all aspects of the GameStop thing and see if someone colluded with others to create this gamma squeeze, because that's a problem in itself. And those guys could be in real trouble. It's no problem if you go do it yourself, but if you collude with a bunch of big money guys to do it, I think that's legally a real problem. No different than when I talked to a couple pals of mine, said if we would have done to GameStop on the other side, put out a bunch of stuff on Reddit, shorted a bunch of the stock, bought a bunch of puts into oblivion, and the stock would have collapsed, we wouldn't have been investigated. We would have been arrested within 7 minutes. And they would have had it on the national news about Cohodes and his gang of 3 colluded to drive the price of the stock down. Everyone's accused of that on a daily basis. Bear raid, short and distort, the whole thing. But when things go up, people view it as therapeutic and it's okay because no one's going to have any parade or no one's going to do anything to help the shorts. But however it is, you shouldn't collude to trade stocks. You shouldn't manipulate stocks. You shouldn't buy stocks just because of a short squeeze. You should buy it or short it because you have fundamental basis. And again, this all ties into fast money, quick buck, Cartoon Network. Isn't this fun? Guys making a lot of money. All's great. Party like it's 1999. No problem with that. I have as much fun as the next guy. But know what you're playing with here. The government should know that these clowns put the system at risk and take steps and learn from it so this shit doesn't happen again. Or if it does happen again, adults know what to do, who to stop, how to put things in places so it doesn't put the system at risk. I mean, this is what adults, regulators should do. This is what they're paid. This is their job. I don't do their job, but this should be part of their job and job description.
Yeah, and I think about, I wanted you to kind of touch on, what it's like to actually put on a short position, have it go against you or short squeeze, especially when you're trying to find frauds and you're trying to be that watchdog. I learned a lot from your experience in the GFC in 2008, 2009, as far as, we're always looking for managers that can, handle long volatility and tail risk in case markets go down. And I stay away from short sellers, unfortunately, because the dynamics of shorting, one, you have a left skew to that trade if it goes against you. But more importantly, your prime can absolutely screw you on your borrow at the most inopportune time. So for the people that are, I hate to make you go over this again, but for people that are new to Marc Cohodes, to know what side you're on of this, all of this nonsense, I think it'd behoove them to hear a little bit about your story of your short frauds going into 2008, the market's collapsing, and you just get absolutely fucked by your prime broker.
I mean, it's like this PTSD moment when you bring that up. So if people haven't heard the story, I did a Real Vision with Grant. I think I went over it for about 10 minutes. I'll try to do the Reader's Digest version of it. In 2008, we were very bearish going into the year, and we were up probably 35% in September. And we were not leveraged at all in terms of maybe we were 100% invested. And that would be 20 long, 80 short. 20% of our book was long, 80% short. Maybe we were 30-70. When we also had a fellow working for me named Rick Sauer, who's a former enforcement attorney at the SEC. And in front of the subprime mess, he went to meet with Cox along with others. And Chris Cox, who was the head of the SEC, said they would never, ever change rules without a 90-day consultation period with market participants. So we didn't think the rules were going to change. Market gets a little funky, and the SEC puts a ban on short sales on what they would call about 500 too big to fail names, which was a hodgepodge of real companies and shitty companies. And I think that day, those names probably went up 30 to 35%. And we lost our ass. We must have lost 15% that day. So that was bad. So now we're up 20. The next day or the day after, the government put a restriction and mandatory buy-in on what they called Reg SHO names, which were names that were having a problem failing. And we were short some of those. We were fully borrowed, or at least we were told we were fully borrowed. And those names went up another 20%. So Goldman calls me and says, "You're extraordinarily volatile." I said, "Yeah, we've had 2 bad days." And I was only a customer of Goldman for 25 years then. And they said, we're changing your haircut from 30% to 70%. I said, okay, what exactly does that mean right now? They said, well, you need to come up with 560 million of cash. I said, well, we don't have 560 million. We had, and that was frozen because Lehman went bankrupt. We had positions over Lehman, and it should have been segregated, but it wasn't, which is a whole Lehman issue. That's a story unto itself. So basically, Goldman put us in a margin call position because we didn't meet their house requirements. I tried to offload names to Farallon, and they agreed to take them, but Goldman called up Farallon and said, you can't take them because they'll be out of business in 2 days. So they fucked us on that deal. At the time, my buddy Duhamel at Farallon says Citadel's leveraged at 18-1. You're not even leveraged. Can you imagine if they put them out of business, which is why I've always had a hard on for Citadel. And all of a sudden, Goldman starts covering our shorts in a market that's fallen apart. They basically took us, I think at the time we were up 10. They took us to down about 50. And they lied all the way around because they said we were fine when we were down 20. But then they just decided to liquidate us altogether. And it's turned out I have subsequent emails, from the overstock naked short case with Goldman that Goldman didn't have our names borrowed. But by then, it's a miracle I didn't blow my brains out. Everyone was so fried, couldn't deal with it. So I think we ended the year down 50. But we had one managed account, which had nothing to do with Goldman. And Goldman couldn't fuck with that account. And I think that account for the year was up 126. So it was a disaster all the way around. It taught me to never be in this business again because your prime broker can fuck you every way to Sunday. And I think, the guys at Goldman are a criminal operation. I mean, they've subsequently paid billions and billions and billions and billions of fines doing all sorts of illegal shit, as is JP Morgan. But they pay their $1 billion of fines from rigging silver to failure, just everything. The Malaysia fiasco, and people just keep looking the other way. They pay billions and billions of fines like it's an excise tax, and they're too big to fail, and they own part of the government, and everyone in the government, at least on the financial sides, had a tenure at Goldman Sachs, and it's It's beyond disgusting. But I'm just a guy, I'm just living my life, doing my thing.